banking, as you know, we have the big financial services bill, and the first meeting of that is at 2:15. So I'm going to have to be very, very brief tonight. First, thank you all for coming and for your advocacy, and thank OU for the good job you all do. Let me be very, very quick on three issues. Number one, today at the UN, they did vote for sanctions on Iran, the Russians, to some extent, and the Chinese, to a great extent, reluctantly went along. I don't have much faith in the UN and in multilateral sanctions, because I think the Chinese and Russians put their own agenda first. But what this does do is give the rest of the world a permission structure to go and do much tougher sanctions on their own. We are in the process of reconciling the House and Senate bill, which will allow the United States to take much tougher stand on sanctions, particularly on the two places where Iran has weak pressure points. One is gasoline. While they export oil, they import half their gasoline. If we say, which this legislation does, that any country that sends gasoline to Iran directly or indirectly cannot sell any oil product in the United States directly or indirectly, that will pack a powerful punch. The whole idea is to bring the Iranian regime down. There is a lot of discontent. The people of Iran basically want economic advancement above all. If we can stop that economic advancement to really hurt the country economically, that might be the spark that brings the people to bring this regime, which is fundamentally not popular and works by fear, down. That's issue one. Issue number two is the Israel-Palestinian question in Eretz Yisrael. As you know, I've spoken out publicly when I think the administration has been pushing in the wrong direction. I think I was the only Democrat to do that. I think it has had an effect. I think that the basic strategy should be, and this is going to relate to point number three, the Palestinian people still don't believe in a Jewish state, in a two-state solution. More do than before, but a majority still do not. Their fundamental view is the Europeans treated the Jews badly and gave them our land. This is Palestinian thinking. As recompense, they don't believe in the Torah, they don't believe in King David, so they don't think it's our land that was built. And they think the Europeans gave it to the Jews, who they regard as Western, we're all Western, by force. So you have to force them to say Israel's here to stay. And there's been good progress over the last year in this sense. There's a division because the West Bank is actually prospering. The Palestinians, and this is very good news that we often ignore, the Palestinian police authority, the PA police authority, has actually gone after the terrorists. Very few Jews have died even east of the fence. And that's because there's a Palestinian force that now goes after the terrorists. And that has had a positive effect. It's been trained by Israel, paid for by the United States. 27 of the checkpoints have been taken down. It's allowed more economic prosperity. And Bibi Netanyahu likes to brag that there are now multiplexes in Ramallah and Jenin. But more importantly, there's been economic growth at 7, 8, 9%. The contrast with Gaza is glaring. And that's why the boycott of Gaza, to me, has another purpose. Obviously, the first purpose is to prevent Hamas from getting weapons by which it will use to hurt Israel. But the second is actually to show the Palestinians that when there's some moderation and cooperation, they can have an economic advancement. When there's total war against Israel, which Hamas wages, they're going to get nowhere. And to me, since the Palestinians in Gaza elected Hamas, well, certainly there should be humanitarian aid and people not starving to death. To strangle them economically until they see that that's not the way to go makes sense. So I think the boycott is important for bringing about peace in the Middle East, actually. To show the Palestinians that a path of living with Israel and the Jews is a better way to go than a path of total and obdurate confrontation. And so I think that Israel has to continue the blockade. And so far, job will be to support it. The third point I want to make, which doesn't get